the points today. It's still liberalism. So liberalism, we wanna be more clear about liberalism. Liberalism is very important that you know liberalism because it's still the most important political ideology that rules the world, you know? Most important political ideology. All the international organizations that we have that put all the states together are based on liberal principles. All the constitutions of the Western countries are based on liberal principles. I don't know for how long, because as you see, we have fascist rulers all over the world, but so far, since World War II, all the constitution of all Western countries were based on liberalism. Liberalism thinks that these principles are universal and can be expanded all over the world. So, basically, in all the 20th century, the world was divided between socialist bloc and the liberal bloc, capitalist bloc, which was covering almost over the world. Then the liberal bloc won when there was the fall of the Soviet Union, and after in the 90s, you know, we thought that we could make all the world based on the liberal principles. That means that you have human rights all over the world, and at the same time, the expansion of capitalism brings development, progress, and so on and so forth. This didn't happen, and right now we have, you know, a contraposition between Western countries, which are still based on liberal principles, and the rest of the world who say we want to develop our own principles. But liberalism is very, very, very important. So let's get back to the principles of liberalism. The founding father of liberal theory is John Locke. Very good. So what can we say are the main principles of liberalism? What are the main principles?
Mostly
Limited government. Very crucial principle. Very good, Charlie. Individual rights. Yeah. So, we have, okay, that's good. Then we have another one. Alisa, you got 30 cum laude, so you must know the principle. How is freedom for liberal theory? I revoke your 30. Who said negative freedom? Okay, your 30 goes to Sabrina. Your laude goes to Sabrina. I'm gonna move the laude right now. Okay, very good, Sabrina. So, Sabrina, what is negative freedom?
It's like individuals have the right to, you gave the example, if you want to put your shoe on your head, it's okay, like as long as it's not interfering with the law that's written.
Yeah, no, it's good that you don't get the laude. So, what is negative freedom? Negative freedom, Charlie.
It's like freedom of speech. For example, I can do and say whatever I want, so it doesn't cross boundaries or like binding law.
No.
Without interference?
No, sorry. It was absence of what? Lina.
Interference, yeah.
That's good. Let's be more precise. Is
Absence of external
Absence of...
okay, I give you back your 30. Well, you're loud. So, negative freedom means there is absence of law. So this means that you're free when there is not a law that says you cannot do this. So, yeah, you know, I can do whatever I want, but so as you say, I can put the shoes on my hand until the moment that the government doesn't say you cannot put your shoe in your head. So the idea is you're free to do whatever you want, so as far as you don't have a law that forbids this, as far as you don't have the government who does forbid this. So it's a freedom from the state, a freedom outside the state. So we think, yeah, we need the government for a series of purposes, but we're free when there is absence of government, when the government doesn't come to break my bones, in the sense that, I'm free when there is not a law that say I cannot do this. When outside of the law, there is the pure freedom of the individual. So liberalism is about protecting liberty, and liberty is where there is no government, no legislation. So liberalism wants limited government in order to increase liberty. Limiting government in order to increase liberty. So the government in this sense is not an end, it's just a means. Is instrumental. Is instrumental to what? What is the purpose of government?
They enforce the natural rights of people, and if there's a right to property, no one can come steal your property. There's a judiciary system.
Exactly. The purpose, the government is a means to protect your rights. You need the government. Why? Because if I have the natural right to life, but there is not a police that protects me to whoever wants to come and kill me, I don't have this right. I have the natural right to property, but I still need the state to protect my property. To say, when I buy a house and I make a contract, the contract is valid because I have a state which say this house is yours, and whomever is gonna come to take it, I'll send the police and put all of them in jail. Okay? So the state is just a pure instrument. The government is a pure instrument that protects your right, because for protecting your right you need the government. You remember that Locke says, yeah, the state of nature is good, but we need something to make decisions, to enforce decisions, to solve conflicts. So the state is an instrument that must be reduced as minimum as possible. As you see, United States of America, liberal country, they compress the state. They don't want the state to become too big. Like, their knowledge would be good to give the right to the social rights, to education, to healthcare. But they say to give these rights, you have to expand the state to make it bigger, to give more function to the state, and this is in conflict with freedom. So these are the principles of liberalism. The main principle. You have to remember these principles. As they were, developed from John Locke, and as they are written in the American Constitution, especially, also in the French Revolution, but in the American Constitution mostly. So, what we had studied, what we're focusing right now, we want to get back to liberalism in the 19th century, and so we have developed two things. Last time, we analyzed the liberal critics of democracy. So, liberal critics of democracy, because sometimes people think, liberal and democratic, same thing. No, it's different. So, to understand this difference, we saw this guy, Alexis de Tocqueville. So, why is different? Because liberalism is focusing on liberty, on freedom. Democracy is focusing on equality. Liberalism, liberty, freedom, democracy, equality. This is easy. You must remember this. So, democracy promotes a different idea of freedom, right? Which idea of freedom is based democracy on? Positive freedom. What is positive freedom?
In democracy, you obey to the laws that you contributed to making the constitution.
Very good, sir. Very, very, very good. You only obey to the laws that you have contributed to create. Democracy is based on positive freedom. Positive freedom is freedom within the state. It's freedom through the state, meaning you participate in the state and you're free because you contribute to create the laws that you have to obey. So democracy is about making the state bigger in order to increase equality among citizens in order to promote positive freedom. Liberalism is making the state, the government, smaller in order to promote liberty and only serves to protect rights. So liberalism is more about your rights as an individual. It's more about you as an individual, as a specific subject. It's more about protecting your rights and reducing power. So you have check and balances between the states. And liberalism wants always the judiciary core system to work very, very, very well, because they think the judiciary system is what protects your rights. So you have the International Court of Justice, you have the Supreme Court. So you see that in the United States you have all these check and balances systems between the powers. No, as Montesquieu said, you have to make a separation of power and a system of check and balances. This is liberalism, and is based on the individual. Democracy is based not on the individual, but is based on the people. Democracy was to give sovereignty to the people, to promote positive freedom, and is about equality. So, democracy is about, we all have to participate in politics in order to only obey the laws we have contributed to create. Great idea, but our friend Alexis de Tocqueville promotes what is the liberal critique of democracy that we saw last time. Why? Because he was a pretty smart guy. He grew up in the... Where is Tocqueville? It disappeared. Why? Okay. Wow. So, the guy, smart guy, he was an aristocrat, French aristocrat, very classy, Very classy, but also very smart. So, he was born just before the French Revolution. No, sorry, he was born just after the French Revolution, but his family, they were, he died very young, because you can see that he was not very strong as a man. So he died very young. So he was born after the French Revolution, and he was a bit traumatized by the French Revolution, because his family said, yeah, we have to give equality to the third estate. So they support the French Revolution. But then, the French Revolution persecuted his family because they were aristocrats. So Tocqueville was already saying, yeah, this new movement of equality, of democracy is good, but at the same time, it can become very bad. Very bad. So he was a bit conflicted, because he was very progressive in his ideas, but at the same time, he was kind of afraid that this equality was producing bad things. So in reality, what he was saying was, in the aristocratic time was better, because people were more elegant, more refined, more educated, We didn't think about the ugly thing, in life, make money, work all day, blah, blah, blah. We were focused on, religion, virtue, chivalry, war, and so on. So it was, but he say, I understand that this world is end, and we go through a democratic societies. So it was okay on doing this. He worked for the French government, and the French government sent him in the United States of America. To study the prison system. And he was shocked by the United States of America, because he came from a country, France, who has centuries of history about aristocracy, about social stratification. Whilst in the United States they were equal. For the first time in the world, they created a republic in which there was no aristocracy, no social divisions. So it was an equal society. So he saw democracy, and he said democracy is not just political institution. It's a force, historical force, in which people are becoming more and more and more equal, more and more and more equal. So it's fascinating. He said, yeah, we see that probably in 1 century all the society West will become democracies, because it's so strong social historical movement. Okay? But he developed this critique. the tyranny of majority. So he said, yeah, democracy is good, but it can become the tyranny of the majority. Speak why? Because you have a majority and the majority decides. Like, in the, for example, Brexit, huge bullshit they did. Why? Because the 51% of the population of Great Britain, who were the less educated part, lived in the countryside, voted to get out from the European Union, whilst the 49% of the population, which were the part who were producing more money, living in London, living in big city, more educated and so on, voted to stay in the European Union. So almost a half of the population has to adapt to the decision of the other half of the population, which by the way was also less instructed and has less interest to take this. So he said this can become a tyranny. So he went to the United States. He said that he see two clear tendencies in equality. One turns man's attention to new thoughts, so it's good democracy because it's a progress, while the other would induce him freely to give up thinking at all. Like for example, what happened in democracy? There is this, general opinion which is produced by the average thing. You have the general, and you can just adapt to the general opinion. You can stop thinking. If democratic people substitute the absolute power of a majority for all the various power that use excessively to impede or hold back the upsurge of individual thought, the will itself would only have changed this form. So he said, yeah, we have developed all these democratic ideas to destroy absolute monarchies, to destroy absolute powers. But right now, democracy can become an absolute power, a tyranny of the majority, because instead of the absolute monarchy, you have this majority who behave, and who destroy individual thought and who just want to impose the decision of the majority. Democracy in America. So, yeah. Then what do we have? The democracy tend to create, strong leaders. Well, what does it say, these leaders? These leaders just say what is the worst thing that you can feel in the majority of the population, which is less educated, and you take this thing and say, I'm the leader and I want to make this party. The majority of the population say, okay, let's destroy all these, ethnic minority of immigrants from Africa who come here, steal our jobs and sell drugs and so on. And the person who goes to a democratic election goes there and say, let's kill them all. Let's kill them all and so on. So you have, this tendency to have strong leaders who adapt to the opinion of the majority, and in this way it creates, a new form of tyranny, of despotism. Right? So this is the point that you have to remind about Tocqueville. The equality of conditions is daily progressing towards those extreme limits which seems to have reached in the United States. The democracy which governs the American communities appears to be rapidly rising into power also in Europe. It's evident that that all the countries will become democratic. So you see, democracy has a tendency in general for all the world. But he said, when I survey this countless multitude of beings shaping each other likeness, amidst whom nothing rises and nothing falls, the sight of such universal uniformity saddens and chills me, and I'm tempted to regret the state of society which has ceased to be. To regret the state of society which has ceased to be means you look at the moment of aristocracy in which you have to comply to be aristocrats means the best. Aristocracy means the government of the best ones. So aristocracy means that you have to tend to become the best and the best and the best and the best and the best. You know? So this is democracy. And they say with this thing, the old time is like this. In this democracy thing you see the mediocrity that comes. Because everybody tends to adapt to the majority, and the majority is gonna lower everybody. So this is the difference. They say it doesn't like, democracy because it doesn't trigger you to get better. So let's say, for example, let's think this distinction between liberal politics and democratic politics when it comes to education, for example. What would be the policy of a liberal and a democrat when it comes to education, to students, to scholarships? How would you say if one must be democratic, one must be liberal? So this Sabrina, how would be a liberal policy on scholarships, education, and so on?
Well, you said liberalism focuses on the individual more, so I guess education would be more reinforcing like each individual and paying attention specifically to their needs and everything.
Yeah.
And scholarships would be, I don't know, it could be race-based, kind of trying to look at who needs it more and who needs it less. But in democracy, it's more for the society. Like everyone should get an education, everyone should be the same, and everything is equal.
Good. Okay. For the democracy is good. It's on the liberal, Alisa. Now you were.
Yeah, but I think individualism is more focused on that you have the possibility to get the highest education, like you have this possibility, and basically education is the level of education is better, and because you have access and the government provides you scholarship in case you need, because all individual has opportunity to get the best education, but in democracy it's kind of lower level because they just need everyone gets the basics, and they don't really care about the quality and the highest education.
Yeah. So let's say, for example, in Italy we have a democratic system about education because we promote education as a social rights for everybody. So we want to promote the right to education for everybody. We have, not great systems, not excellent, but try to be for really everybody. And so we try, to make no taxes, to make very, very, very low taxation on education, and so on, in order to get for all the population the right to access education. And this is, democratic approach, democratic system, liberal system. Sabrina, you said the other time, you said what is your political idea?
No, because liberalism focuses on the individual,
Yeah.
so I was thinking that maybe each individual can get a different education if they pay enough money because they have specific needs and everything.
So last time you said that you made a research on the internet and you find your political ideology.
Yeah.
What is your political ideology?
Meritocracy.
Meritocracy. So liberalism is based on meritocracy. Means we want to hold only the best schools in the world. Harvard, Yale, New York University, Columbia, and so on. So what? To get there, if you're super excellent, if you have very merit and no money, we give you a super big scholarship. But this is only for those who have big merit. So it's based on merit. It's based on the fact that you say, the individual, I want really the individual to show his own capacity, to show his own merit. So liberalism says, as far as we are all equal in front of the law and we all have the right to vote, apart from this, inequality is normal in society, and is right to promote inequality because it forces people to give their best. And based on this, those who have more merit, those who have the more capacity must be given the opportunity to get to the best places. So, yeah, it's like, for example, Harvard is a place for only 4 billion for rich kids of rich people, but also give scholarship, to people who doesn't have money but wants to get the best. This is the thing. This is liberalism. So we want the best, but it's very excluded because and you can never measure the quality and the merit in an objective way. But the principle of liberalism is you get the best of the best. The principle of democracy is you try to improve, equality among all. Socialism would be we force everybody to be equal in the sense that we say, okay, we have state school and everybody has to go there until this year and the state chooses the teachers. So, liberalism is about the development of the individual, so you have meritocracy, so you have the ideal capacity and so on. So, okay, let's see, you study then Tocqueville on my thing. So, the other thinker I wanted to say is John Stuart Mill, to complete our view on liberalism. So about John Stuart Mill, it looks like you all know.
We don't
what
have
it
the
is.
slides.
No slides. No slides. John Stuart Mill. John Stuart Mill. So let's be not so long with this. Proietta e dubita. Okay, John Stuart Mill. Let's say quickly. We only want to retain one concept from this guy. So, John Stuart Mill is a part of utilitarianism. Jeremy Bentham, who was the teacher of James Mill, who was the father of John Stuart Mill. Utilitarianism is very important, but it's a bit boring, so we're not going to go through this too much. So it's an ethical direction that evaluates actions according to results, usefulness for the people. The best action is the one that brings the best happiness to the greatest number of people. So utilitarianism is something that say, what should we do in politics? What should we do in politics? In politics we tend to say, we have to do the right thing, the thing that is right, the thing that is. Utilitarians say, we have to do the things that brings the biggest amount of happiness to the biggest amount of people. The greatest amount of happiness to the greatest amount of people. So you only judge these actions in order to their effect, to their outcomes. The only thing that is good in society is happiness, so you have to maximize happiness. This is written in the American Constitution. This is, the American pragmatism, the British pragmatism. You look at what is the outcome. That's the only thing. We judge things about their outcome, about the results they produce. So, the deontological kind of theory say, it's right or wrong. This utilitarianism is teleological because you say, let's look at the end, let's look at the outcome. Let's look at the end. So, Bentham was the founding father of utilitarianism, but we only want to focus on John Stuart Mill and on his book on liberty. So, I hope to have some quotations, but Italian girls are sick from so many days, but who knows Italian students? Who's in touch with them? Both of them sick since 1 week. You don't know. Okay. However, I hope in the next class on Monday we're going to have the Italians and we're going to get some quotation from John Stuart Mill. So you guys already know John Stuart Mill because when I ask you about freedom, you always give me the definition that John Stuart Mill developed in his book on liberty. Okay, so he said, what he said, he developed liberal theory by saying, okay, liberal theory, as we have studied so far, is based on a specific conception of liberty, which is, let's say again, liberalism, liberty is the conception of, come on, how is liberty for freedom for liberalism, for John Locke?
What type of freedom?
Yes.
Negative.
Negative. What is negative freedom, again?
Anything that's in absence of the law.
Yeah, exactly. So John Stuart Mill say, okay, I like this, but it's not enough. It's not enough. We have to define better what is liberty for liberalism. It's not enough to say that outside of the law you're free to do whatever you want. It's not enough. It's not enough. It's too general principle. It's too general. It doesn't, has a point. So he developed an idea of freedom that all the students, when I come here and they say, what is freedom? All of you say this idea that was developed by John Stuart Mill. So who knows this idea of liberty, of freedom? The most famous idea of freedom. What is freedom? You can do whatever until
It,
Other people,
until other.
until it intervenes other people's freedom.
Yeah, exactly. Easy. So you remind this. It makes liberalism it makes liberalism more precise, more sharp by saying you can do what the fuck you want until the moment you don't hurt the freedom of other people. Like for example, you can drink as many beers and gin lemon and gin tonic, and vodka as you want. So you're free to do this. You're allowed. But so it's legal because you want to be free. It's not like in Muslim countries, like in Morocco. In Morocco, can you drink?
Yeah.
No. In Morocco, you cannot drink. I've been in Morocco so many times. I've been to Tagazout for 1 month. In Suana,
The big cities.
I went surfing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then also, of course, I went to what's the name?
You didn't go to Morocco?
What? Of course, I went to Marrakesh. What's the name of the city just next to? Okay, you have places for tourists where you can drink, but formally, according to the law, you're not allowed to drink.
It's written, like, let's say if you want to open a bar, if there's an alcohol license, it says do not serve to Muslims, but
Yeah.
that's all the customers. Like, it's just, those are all the customers, all the Muslims are the customers,
So
it's just formal.
it's just form. So you're allowed to drink. If you're a Moroccan citizen and you go in open air, you have a square and you sit at a bar and you order a beer,
In the bar, yeah, but not in the street.
not in the street, not outside, not in the day hour. Okay, I must say, 80% of places I went to Morocco was not allowed to drink.
That's bad.
Maybe for you.
What?
Maybe for you.
For me, yeah, they saw myself. No, I mean, okay. In my opinion, is very restricted because it's a country based on Muslim principle and the state drinking is bad. Then I'm sure I went to what's the when you fly to go to Tagazout. What? No, down south. South. Agadir. So I flew to Agadir airport. Agadir, you have so many bars, blah 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 blah, and of course you can drink, but it's mostly for tourists. Like in small, in Tagazout, in the small villages, you don't have any. It was not possible. Okay, let's say you have strong limitations of drinking because of a principle. Because of a principle, we say without Muslim countries, we don't want you to drink. Okay. Here, liberal country, we say, yeah, we want to protect freedom, so if you're Muslim, you will not drink, but it's allowed. You can drink whatever you want, freedom. But when you drink, there is something that you cannot do by law, right?
Yeah.
Like what?
like driving.
Like driving. So, you can do, but why?
Because it might hurt others and you may cause accidents.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interfere other people's freedom.
Exactly. So you say it's not enough. Let's say, yeah, you have to, have a more developed concept of freedom, which is not only when the laws ends, you have the freedom to do whatever you want, but no. This negative freedom means you can do whatever you want until the moment that your freedom doesn't hurt other people. So with this, we close with liberalism. So you have to know very well liberalism. You read, and he also started to write about subjection of women. We will discuss this point in the next classes. In the 19th century comes up the situation in which women did not have independent voting rights. So this is a very important point, but we're gonna address in the next classes. So liberalism is very important. Let's say again the main principles of liberalism. So, liberalism is the idea that the centerpiece of society is the individual, is the most important thing. This is still something that makes difference Western civilization from, Eastern civilization. Like as I said, many times you have in China, for example, society is more important than the individual. You can sacrifice the individual for the good of society. This is why when there was COVID pandemic, they really did whatever they want. They control the population until, they're in their all single details, So the government controls the population because you think that society is more important, so that the progress of society as a whole is more important than individual rights. We in Western society thinks that the individual is the centerpiece of society and is the most important thing that you have. So you have this individual is the building block of society. Like for example, very libertarians, super liberals say society does not exist. You only have individuals and families. So the community is a collection of individuals. As I said, politics is instrumental. The state is only is made to protect individual rights, to protect the individual, the rights of the individuals, and that's all. That's not must go more beyond than this. The conception of the state is we have to limit the state because otherwise it interferes with individual freedoms. So let's make the state smaller. So it's good to have judicial systems and so on, to have the police to protect rights. So it's good to have an army. So we need the state, but let's not make it too big. And the negative conception of freedom, which then is developed according to what we say for John Stuart Mill. Okay, so right now we have done the third part of the course. We are done.
But positive freedom is also really important in liberalism.
What?
But positive freedoms are also really important in liberalism.
Why?
Because like education.
But why do you say that education is positive freedom, and why do you say that education is important in liberalism?
Because education is something what you kind of contribute to get this right for education from the government, and it's not about when the government doesn't intervene in your life or something. So it's positive freedom of education, and it's important because we were just talking that all individuals have one of the best opportunities to get the best education in the country. In liberalism, all individuals are supposed to have the right to get the best education possible. So it is one of the concepts of liberalism. I mean, especially nowadays, and also healthcare.
So it's a good point to be analyzed. So let's say healthcare. Why do you say healthcare is important for liberalism?
Because all liberal countries. Okay, it's more social. Okay, but
This is social, right?
okay, but education.
Yeah. So education is more. So why is education important for liberalism? It is important for the concept of equal opportunities. So as I say, for liberalism, it's important that everybody has the right to equal opportunity to develop his own personality, merits, and capacity. So education is supposed to be very important for this. But as I said, in a liberal system, you must be sure that the best ones who are smart get the possibility to have scholarship, to go to university if they don't have the means. Because it's very important to guarantee the equal opportunity. But liberalism is not about saying, okay, everybody has the right to education. This is democracy. Like, for example, if you think of the United States, as I said before, do you think there is a right to education for everybody?
No.
I mean, yeah, fees are like $40,000 per year. So it's not for everybody. Then you have scholarships. The state gives you 40,000 per year if you're poor, but you're a genius, because they want equal opportunity. They won't miss the genius ones. You know. So yeah, it's important because they know that research and education are crucial for innovation. Like for example, why they have all the Google and Apple and all these things in California, because they have a great education system, which they have the best university in the world, and as an outcome of the research and innovation, you get the best technologies. So yeah, they want to have the education, but it's not a right to education for everybody. In the United Kingdom, it's the same, £20,000 per year to study in the United States, in the United Kingdom. So I don't know if every one of you tried to apply for a BA in the United Kingdom. Did you try? You tried.
But I have like 5, 6 friends that study there, and like it's crazy, like especially for international students.
It's crazy. I mean, they give some scholarship, but it's 20,000. So we cannot say when you have £20,000 per year, $40,000 per year. Can you say you have a social right to education? No. What do you think? Still not persuaded. Tell me.
No, I mean, I just like to put liberalism together with like social ideas.
Liberalism with socialism.
The social ideas.
Ah, yeah, that's good. Libs, yeah.
So like for me, like liberal goes hand in hand with the first freedoms as well.
Yeah, I mean, the point is this. The point is that this is complicated because in English, actually, so when you say liberale in Italian or liberal en français or liberale in Spanish, you think these points that I'm saying. But it's true that especially in America and the United States, when you say you're liberal, it means you're kind of less left-wing. It means that you stand for social rights. Why? Because liberals, they were obsessed with, as I said, with civil rights. So those who were fighting for civil rights for Afro-Americans were kind of liberal because they fight for civil rights. Those who fight for LGBTQ rights, they're considered liberal because they fight for civil rights for these minorities. So in the United States, the idea of liberals means also a bit right-wing. So it's different being liberal from liberalism as a political theory. So yeah, you put it together. Like if you say liberal, yeah, in the United States you tend to focus on the Democratic Party and the left wing. Yeah. But we have to understand that liberalism is a bit different. And however, even being liberal, in most cases doesn't mean that you care about social rights and equality. Then you have people that do it who are more focused on this, but then like for example Bernie Sanders, Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, they're more towards socialism than liberalism. So you like to put it together, but they're not together. I'm sorry to say. But yeah, like for example, education, healthcare as rights. So as you know, it's not a right in the United States, which is a very liberal country. But yeah, so we have this linguistic problem. This linguistic problem is true that because we have the principles of liberalism, but when we say liberal, tends to be in the language of the United States tends to be left wing, so it's maybe confusing. But the political theory of liberalism is this one. So complicated. So you like to put liberalism and social right together.
I think it's perfect combination.
It's a good combination, yeah. It's a good combination. But why it's a difficult combination? Why do you think it's difficult to combine liberalism with social rights?
Because it doesn't work in all governments.
So how can you make social rights? What do you need to make social rights?
Yeah.
Taxes. What do you need to make taxes?
All people working and having a good job.
Yeah. What do you need to make taxes? Yeah. What do you say?
Studies.
No. But the first two letters were okay. What do you need to make taxation? To enforce taxation.
I don't
State.
understand the question.
The state. You need the state. So to make social rights, you need taxation. To make taxation, you need the state. So you need to make the state bigger and bigger and bigger. You know, it's not so to protect social rights, to promote social rights, you need to make, you know, a body of administration to enforce taxation, then a body of people who manage these funds coming from taxes and organize the educational system promoted by the state, and then, you know, you hire people from the state and blah 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 blah. And when you hire people from the state, they're not controlled, so you have mediocre, you know, like for example, teachers. Who's gonna control if the professors are good or bad when they are just hired from the state and blah blah blah. If you go to a private university, you have a manager who manages and goes there and control and blah 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 blah. In a public system, you can have, you know, very good people or very mediocre people because it's not that controlled. So what they say is, if we promote social rights, we have to make it public, and if you make it public, you're gonna have a control if it's efficient or not efficient. What do you think, Alice?
I think, yeah, but we can easily control it also. You can also, how do you say that? Appoint someone who will control if this is good or not. The qualifications and all of this stuff.
And who's gonna control if the controller is efficient or
State.
just what?
State.
State is not a person.
I mean, representatives of the state.
So you hire a person who controls the guy
Yeah,
control.
like-
And who controls if the guy?
Administration, like educational administration of the state or something like this. Or it can be, at the same time, there are so many rights, it can be independent organization, like independent educational organization of the, like working in the country or something. Like, I mean, it's like, I'm not sure if I understand this right, but we have this Bologna system, right? Which is like, I don't know, like example of good education and everybody uses. So it's like a pattern which everyone is using to see if it's good or not.
Yeah.
And you do the same in the state with social rights. So,
Yeah.
I think
So your social, you would like to combine social rights, so kind of equality to social rights with liberal society, with liberal principles.
yeah.
Like which liberal principles do you like?
Individual rights that basically no restriction of total freedom of speech or support of everything, and LGBTQ people free to do whatever they want.
Yeah.
No restrictions in terms of individual rights.
Yeah. Well, do you think the state should enforce social rights? Should enforce?
Yeah, healthcare, education,
So you think education should be public?
sure.
Yeah. And rights, social rights, so healthcare?
Yeah.
Yeah, public. Yeah. Charla, what do you think? What's your view on politics? How would you
What's my
identify?
view on
Yeah.
politics? I'm actually kind of confused. Like the more I learn, because I had this one idea, but like it's like what my parents told me, and like when I just know. But the more I learn, the more deep I get. I'm just kind of confused. But I don't know the exact political like word, but I do believe that people should like freedom of speech. Yeah, like LGBTQ rights and like people's rights, like healthcare, free education. Like I do believe in these things.
Social rights.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sabrina. Let's say tomorrow we go into election, there is a big crisis, and we elect you as a president of the Italian Republic. It's not elect full power. What would you do?
Okay, I agree with everything that Alice said, but I have one exception where I have nothing against LGBTQ people, it's fine. No, but let me finish.
Like I'm from Muslim country.
Listen, no, I have friends, it's fine. In America, okay? There are trans men who, you
Yeah.
can fact check this, have stolen over 800 trophies from women's sports. So you're saying that this is freedom of liberty, but they are infringing on the women who practice all their life, and then the women are practicing, and a man comes dressed in a dress and says, "My name is Katie," and beats her in like 20 seconds. It's not fair.
But it's not a problem of pluralism, it's not individualized, it's a problem of sport rules. Sport rules shouldn't be based
She
on.
has the right to a fair competition, but he also has the right to turn into whatever he wants.
Yeah, but sport
They're
rules
both
should be
free.
based on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Then it goes against the whole concept of liberalism.
But if he, introduced himself as a woman, so he should just act
Yeah.
practicing
It's
woman
just some
stuff.
bugs that
He can
liberalism
he,
has.
He can be woman, but like sport is based on your physiology.
No, but that's going against his rights.
Yeah.
Because he wants to be identified as a
He
woman.
can be
Yeah.
identified, but
He's
it's not
in
about
women's
it's not
sport.
about identity, it's about health and about body structure.
But you're saying that he's not a woman then? Because
I
you
don't
are, no, the sports competition, the Olympics, if they reject him, they are rejecting his right to be identified as a woman.
Yeah.
That's going against his right, but yes it is.
I mean, I think
If they discriminate against him based on him being trans, that's going against him.
but you can't confuse the fact that body structures of women and men are different. Like, it's not about how you identify yourself. You can still be Katie, like
No,
whatever.
but he wants to change it in his passport, in his app now, he's female.
I mean, so what's his problem?
Child.
It's a
So,
big
like,
problem.
I mean, personally, I totally support LGBTQ rights. I totally support it, but the thing is, like, for example, countries like Canada, where people like totally free to do drugs, like it's totally illegal because, and I live there and I have family there. The thing, like, but there also has to be limits to this as well. I mean, I totally support it, but there has to be limits and like, it needs to be like this has more in this government. If, for example, in Canada, if you're gonna be so free, there needs to be limits because I have family there and I have like a little sister kind of, and like one day like she was in the pool like changing and like just because in Canada people like totally free to identify like for example randomly I can wake up tomorrow in Canada so like I identify as a man and I can go to the men's washroom and like and this happened to like my little sister and like she was changing and stuff and there was this man who identifies as like woman and he had like full on beard and like he just had like wig and stuff and he kind of like raised it like he was like looking under the chamber and it's like I mean and there's also taking advantages of it. Also in the sports as well, like I think there should be like limitations to this, like there should be like on your ID or something.
But I know, those are the rights, but then you are saying to that female that you don't have the right to identify as this because we don't recognize it as that.
Like it shouldn't be like just because I say this, I think this, but it should be more like not like
No, but that's-
it should be
So basically, we can say it doesn't work
No,
in all the cases. Like in some cases, we have a loop, you know?
I have this problem that, I'm totally fine with the people who just say they want to be a part of the in a community of the LGBTQ plus everything. But the thing is, in those communities, you can see the people who misuse this to just show themselves, to just like getting attention of the society, of the world, and just say anything that they want. And they want to just ask for the needs like they didn't have in their life. And I have this with these communities that it's not a true like view of those people. They just overact about the thing they want, or they are actually. And sometimes I cannot believe all those trans people because for me personally, I can recognize who is a real trans, who is acting like a trans. And I'm like, okay, if you're trans, I respect you. I know you as a human. I don't have any problem with you. But if you act like a trans and you're faking it, it's not, acceptable for me. Like, and I think there should be some, I don't know, something that just make them separate, just with
Some pros.
yeah,
Yeah.
some
I think what's happening now, especially in America, is a complete overextension of
Yeah.
civil rights. Initial intent. The initial intent was for basic things, segregation, right to vote, right to be equal in front of the law. Now, I mean, people are turning into dogs, literally dogs.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
even funny. It's not even funny.
Yeah.
For me, this is chaos. Like, besides religion, besides everything, it's like the end of the world. There needs to be someone with authority.
I mean, because America, they have too much freedom. They have too much freedom, that's the problem. But like, as you said, freedom stops when other people's freedom begins. And basically, people are free to do, say whatever they want. So if they don't recognize you, it's not your right to force all people recognize you as a woman. It's not your right because people like basically
Mm.
get to do whatever they want.
I agree, but
And basically, you shouldn't intervene like when they go to like they define themselves as a man and they go to the bathroom and like they rape someone. Like it's not the right to intervene in other people's life and also sport. I think it's interventional
Yeah.
rights. Like when you intervene in human sport, being a man.
I know, but they can also say you are intervening in my rights to live as a woman or a man.
That's what they say in US, but like it doesn't really happen in Nordic
It
countries.
goes both ways. That's the problem. So where is the limits of liberty?
Um,
People are saying I'm meow meow, I'm
All
wolf.
these freedoms have to have some limits. Like
Child.
I think it's also about the culture as well. For example, like as she said, like in Scandinavia, like I mean, actually, like I've never been, I don't really know, but from what we see and what we like hear, like on social media and the platforms, this like what happens in the U.S. It doesn't, or like Canada, whatever, it doesn't really happen in those countries. You know, or like in France, like there's also like I mean, in France, it's so like they are really supportive of LGBTQ and like people have human rights. So like I don't know, we don't really see this happening. Like, and also,
You know why? Because Tocqueville said when he went to study America that America is this big land that never went through any feudalism, monarchy. It was all just this big land running free.
Yeah.
Europe went through so many stages of history, so much monarchy, everything. Like, so there's some form of culture and honor and respect. But America is just people running free. Like, it's just,
So
I
you're
think it's
conservative, you're a bit
oh
conservative.
yeah, I am. Because I think
You identify as a conservative.
But we don't identify you like this.
no, but personally no, but I think there needs to be some form of authority. It's just
Some forms of authority,
some form.
yeah.
It's not in our hand, but in my opinion, somebody should solve this problem because with this much of intelligence and science and technology, we are just stuck in the sexuality, who is gay, who is LGBT, who is trans. We should solve these problems because it is so funny in my opinion. In this time of history,
How should you
with
solve?
this much of science and everything, we are just sticking in a basic needs to identify ourselves or something like that. It's so funny in my opinion.
I think, well, not everyone, like, normally, like, the common society are always in the basic needs and average things as always in history. So we can't really expect the normal people, like, to think about, like, you know, as we are, like, studying political science, not everyone is interested in politics. So that's the thing that they can do, and I completely support LGBTQ also, but it has some bugs, it has some loops, like the Olympics, for example, or like the physical differences, which it's not in your hand. So that's where the loop of liberal government comes. So I think there has to be limits based on, you know, things that make sense. So if something is not making sense physical, you can do it. You can't do it, like there has to be physical limits. So it doesn't work, in my opinion, like a liberal country like America. And I completely agree with Sabrina also because of their history. They misuse it, as we see, like in Northern European countries, it doesn't happen with the same freedom. So it's like because of their history, I think.
But we are talking about the America and making an example from that country. We should consider that in that America, for example, we have some states, for example, Alabama, Kansas City, or somewhere like there. They just no, seriously. Still, they are so racist, and so liberal is not a complete in America or somewhere like America or something. We don't have anything in 100%, and we should accept that. We should consider that we don't have 100% liberality. We don't have 100% communist or something like that. And in the exact time that we accept that facts and that accept that true, our world is going to be a peaceful world. But with this condition, I don't think so.
So if we give you power in Italy, which kind of regime would you?
Actually, I don't know.
What about you, Nassim?
I don't know.
But
It's really dependent.
Probably
on the state
I try to continue like this, except the racist ideas and fascist ideas that still is in the government. But like, I think if they let them, they're doing good. They're making good policies for foreigners, for education. Maybe as an Italian, you don't agree with me, but I mean, except the racist and fascist ideas in the government, if you cut that, I would continue like this.
Sabrina, would you make a meritocratic monarchy, liberal monarchy in the country? What?
In Italy.
Yeah, but let's say tomorrow we have election, we give you all power. Sabrina party, you get all power.
Sabrina.
Honestly, okay, this is bad too for international students, but I feel like Italy helps too much. It's bad for Italy because I think of both sides of the situation. It's good for international students, but the Italians, they're really spending a lot in helping international students.
Yeah.
Like, I'm being fair because I think of both sides of the coin. If I was Italian and all my
And
taxes
many students who say that.
and spending goes into foreigners who come, they study for 2 years and leave, and it's not fair. I think it's not
I
fair.
think that pretty much percent of them don't leave.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they stay and make the country better.
And like
Well then,
their explanation that the Italian government paid the money so they improve the Italian like society because they work as doctors or something. Like what happens in Germany?
But for like something very weird for me is the way Italian students pay for university. Like there is no specific yearly money. Like based on your family income, you have to like pay crazy amount that you can literally study in the best university of the world with that money. But you're studying in Messina. It doesn't make sense for me that if your parents are richer, you have to pay more. It has to have like, you know, like yeah, it has to be like fixed amount of money. Not like 8,000 for one and then 1,000 for one and then nothing for one is like a bit weird.
But I didn't get nothing. What would you do as
I I would make fixed amount of money if my father is rich. Like they have to pay because they're citizens, and if I get the citizenship, I will also pay the same amount. But the thing is, they don't pay the same amount. It's crazy. Like because my father makes more money, I have to pay 8,000, and as an Italian, and another Italian who is like not as rich as me pays less. It has to have like fixed amount of money. It's crazy that it makes people not want to work, because if I'm gonna pay more and at the end of the day I'm gonna be left with the same amount of money, why am I even working hard? Like I can just make less money.
Just one thing, as for a liberal social country, also proportional tax system is really cool. That you earn money, you earn more, you pay more, but not with the education system.
Yeah,
You
exactly,
pay the same,
exactly.
but with
Not
the
with
taxes,
education.
Like, I think it's really cool, and all people they really don't really care how they earn because basically they kind of earn the same. But yeah, tax system they take more from the richer and take less from the poor.
Yeah. We will go. This will be the top. When we address John Rawls, the class of John Rawls, we will address this topic on progressive taxation. Yeah, if you're richer, you should pay more. If you're less rich, you should pay less. Yeah. Other points? Okay, so we continue the. You wanted to say something? No. So this taxation thing, we go through John Rawls. We'll have to discuss because when we go to John Rawls, which is going to be the last class of this, we have this kind of liberal social points that you are. So you would be John Rawls, the history of political thought. Sabrina would be John Locke, probably, I think. Right, Sabrina, which thinker you identify the most? Alex is the top pill, maybe. Which one you identify the most?
it's hard to really go with one person because I agree with Hobbes, but I also agree with Rousseau when he says that people are corrupt by the nature of society.
So you have positive anthropology.
Yeah, I really think.
So you think people are good in nature?
in nature, but with
Yeah.
reasoning comes
Yeah.
desire.
Yeah.
And I don't think people know what they need because it's a stupid example, but like when you're hungry, you say, I can eat a cow, but you order one burger and you finish half.
They actually bought a cow.
You know, like you order one burger, you eat a burger, you're not eating a cow. So it's just you need a third perspective to really understand who has knowledge and, you know, because in the moment you're just thinking with desire and opinion.
I didn't get the point of the cow. So you would eat a cow, but you order a burger.
No, like when you're hungry,
Yeah.
you feel like you can eat a cow.
Yeah.
So you say, I want a cow to come right now.
Yeah.
This is desire.
Yeah.
But you're gonna eat just a burger
Yeah.
because this is what you actually need.
Yeah.
That's why this tax system is really cool.
Yeah.
All people, they just
Yeah, they pay taxes proportional. Sabina! Yay! So Alice, do you think people are good or bad? Positive anthropology or negative anthropology?
no, I think they're bad, but I want to think that they're good.
Good.
I want to believe that they're good.
Yeah. I mean, I think.
I think it's half and half.
Russians, they are pretty bad. So
No.
yeah, they really don't have a heart in general. Already Germans I doubt, but Russians they're very cruel. They can be very cruel. What do you think?
So racist thing to say.
This what?
It's such a racist thing to say.
Yeah, generalization. Because right now with liberal thinking we cannot make generalization anymore. You're right, but
No, I think people are good. Yeah. I mean, I think
people are good.
I genuinely think there are no bad nations, no bad religions. It's
Yeah.
but exactly people, but like people, they're. It's not that people are bad. Their ideas and the influence, and also not people are bad, but their parents. So yeah, I mean.
I think that people are good at nature. Like, I really believe this, but ever since like becoming an adult, like I just like everyone around me, like I meet new people, new friends, like, and when I talk to them, everyone just believes that people are bad and they act in this way. Like I believe that people are good in nature and I act in this way, and I believe that I trust people, and like the more like I don't know, I experience life, the more I meet people, I see that like they don't believe in the good nature of people, so they act in this bad.
Yeah, with the guard. They act with the guard, yeah.
They act in this way, but as my culture in Turkey, like people, I think people are always good in nature. Like people always like to share. They always like think everything.
Yeah, exactly, they're very kind.
In Russia too.
I haven't been yet.
Yeah, yeah.
You think so? Interesting.
But can't we see that people in nature can be good and bad based on the way they were born? Like, I don't believe that all are naturally good and all are naturally bad. So it's like depend on people. Like some people are evil from the very beginning and some people are good no matter what happened to them.
Because they were born evil or they
Like I believe not everyone born good and I believe not everyone born bad. So it's like combination for me. I can't believe like some people are born good. There is no way.
That exists in humanity, but in human and which you raise more is just come to show the other people. For example, if you care about the good things you have, like by nature, maybe you be a good person in the society, in your country, in your life, in everything. But if you just raise the bad things you have in yourself, it's gonna just harm
Yeah.
everything, the society. First yourself, because always you feel bad, you feel like how can I say, you don't feel that you're enough for the life or for yourself. And
But-
I think both of them exist in the human.
But for example, like in our Asian culture, we believe much in karma. For example, like if your family and your parents bring bad karmas, and your children definitely gonna face with the karma. But even though the children who was born in an innocent way, however they're gonna face and they're gonna affect a lot by their family entities before. So we recognize much about family reputation of a family entity before the child born. So it's
So you believe in karma?
magic karma.
In karma?
Karma
Yeah.
exists.
So karma exists.
Yeah, it does
So you believe in karma?
Because karma is like one of the core beliefs of Buddhism, so of course we believe in it.
Okay, how does it work?
we have a kind of like mental thing like this. Like when you are born, you have a good family, but you have a set amount of good family that you have bring you lucky, bring you money, bring you opportunity. But it gonna reduce if you don't increase it by doing good things. For example, if you treat people well, their family will raise it. But if you treat people bad, it going down, and you're gonna lose your family one day if you don't increase your good faith in the activities.
Yeah. So the Chinese government did the social credit system, you know it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know? Do you know the social credit system, guys? No, So I should say, they believe that you're born with an amount of good things that will bring you success, right? And when you do bad good things, good deeds, it will increase. If you do bad things, it will decrease. Okay, so this is
well-
the karma philosophy of Buddhism. What did the Chinese government did? Social credit system. You're a citizen, you have an app, okay? They will take care of all your deeds because they know if you have a bank account you do debts. If you have a debt, you don't pay the debt. If you lose points in your driving license, if you do driving license things, if you don't go to school, if you don't graduate, if you're a bad citizen or a good citizen. They give you a score, and every bad deed, you decrease on this, and you lose lives.
So your whole life is an exam?
It's the karma idea, they put it in an app, and the government uses this app to say that there's no rights and
The concept.
Asian love exams. Why are you surprised? We love exams. Every stage of our life is an exam. Like from kindergarten to primary school to secondary school, and from secondary to high school, and from high school to university, and after university, blah blah blah.
Well,
Like
usually the blah 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 should not be an exam.
it still is an exam. It still is an exam. Like we love exams because exams, it's distinguishing people from the best, from the shit to the goal. Because like gold and shit together, okay?
Now I get it.
Can I say something? I think all of these definitions you're saying about the good, bad, exams, karma, everything comes from religion, and
It's not from religion.
it is actually. You consider good and bad based on your religion, based on your culture, based on your history, and maybe something is good in your opinion is a bad in my opinion. It's something just. I think it's personal, and you can't just make decision based on the things that you know from your own point of view. You know, you cannot give a very specific, exact definition of a good and bad because, for example, in my culture, for example, I don't know, wearing scarf is a good, but having hijab is good. But now you can see having hijab is not a good thing, or maybe it doesn't have any consequences for European society or for not Muslim countries. You know, it's I think good and bad can be defined based on the religion that people have, based on belief that people have, not the
Yeah.
way they actually maybe exist.
Yeah.
You know, it's something that they don't have any I don't know, many good explanation of being good or being bad.
It's just the way that they control you by your sense of guilt for something. Like, what about these I don't know, dictators that they never get the result of bad things that they do to a whole society, and they actually have the perfect life because they don't feel the guilt to feel that karma is gonna give them answer. So if you believe in it, it's gonna come to your life and you're gonna feel miserable. That's why it works in your life. But if you don't believe in anything, or if you don't believe in religion, you can do, or if you don't feel guilty for anything, you can basically do whatever. And that's why I say, like, no matter how your parents are good, no matter how your society loves you, some people from nature are bad. Like, I don't know if you watch documentaries on murderers, or I watch a lot, and some of them, no matter how the environment is good and how everything is good, they're still they're born bad. Really, I have no explanation for that. And some people also, that they go through hell, the society is so oppressing, and they're still good. So I think they're born good. So I think it's both, and it's just
okay, good. Yeah. So tomorrow we're gonna address exactly these questions through this guy. Who is this guy?
Nietzsche.
Nietzsche. So if you see it on my phone too, you see Nietzsche is here. So Nietzsche, why? What did he wrote? Nietzsche. He wrote a book which is Beyond Good and Evil. Beyond Good and Evil, and another book which is Genealogy of Morals, which is what you say. Why we consider things, this thing good, this thing bad. Okay? And we will also get back to the GLBT thing of Nietzsche by Nietzsche, Because in my opinion, Nietzsche is the founding father of LGBT movement. He would never agree on this, but from what he said, that we have to put in discussion everything, you know, we wanted to put in discussion everything, like you say, why do we consider this good and this bad? I'm gonna go genealogy, I wanna understand that we say, you know, what we consider good and bad right now is only the consequences of the moral of the slaves. We have value the worst thing, you know, we have value the weak and so on, and other moral Christianity is based on valuating the fact of being weak, of being sick, of suffering, blah blah blah. This is shit. You have to build a new kind of moral. So we go back to this, and so we also say, and we have to put in discussion everything. Everything must be put in discussion. All the things that you believe you have to put in discussion. So, for example, is the founding father of the idea, in my view, of an idea that say, yeah, we used to think that we have men and women in society, but we have to put this question. And I try to explain why, in my view, this is the founding point of what then became this, you know, GLBTQ issue. So we get back to this point. But what I want to say now is, and it's also very interesting what the karma thing, because we have to take into consideration that, you know, our students from East have, you know, different views. So, Lynn, what do you identify as? What's your favorite political thinker that you addressed? How do you identify?
Every aspect, so really everyone has a good opportunity and a bad opportunity, so I cannot decide whether what is the best one of them.
Okay, politically, how do you identify?
I agree with Sabrina. I agree that people are naturally innocent, however they're corrupted by desire, because anyone else wants desire, have desire for beauty, desire for fairness, fortune, desire for everything. So, I can say somehow that I prefer more desire, morality in every desire, because some desire are good, but some desire are bad. So we need to have our awareness in every person that whether we want a good desire or bad desire, and how we can decide to success is by achieve the desire, by how we can manage that desire.
Good, interesting. So, I mean, what we discussed today, good or bad? Why we discuss this thing? Why is politically interesting? Because this comes from this idea comes then your political view. Because if you think that so the question is this, and you think about it, and tomorrow we're gonna keep discussing on this thing. So if we don't have government, if we have a kind of anarchist society where everybody is free, because you don't have police, you don't have laws, you don't have limitation, but you have equality in the sense that everybody has what's providing for the basic needs, you know, basic education, basic food, basic everything, but you don't have the government, you don't have the police and blah 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 blah. Would this society work well and everybody would be happy and respect each other, or would be the war of all against all? And you know, since people are greedy, I would come and stole if you have 2 apples, you know, instead of just eating my apple, I'm gonna come and eat also your apple, and I will try to make a business by stealing apples and selling apples again. And greedy would dominate, or would be a happy society? You think about this question because this is, you know, the basic point of negative and positive anthropology. So, in a society without political power, without the state coercion, without inequality, would function very well and everybody respect each other, positive anthropology, or would we have, you know, looting, killing, violence, shooting, etc., etc., etc. This is why we try to discuss positive anthropology and negative anthropology, because from the idea men are good or bad, it comes all the consequences on how you think political power and political institutions should be organized. So you think about it, tomorrow we continue the discussion, and right now we do final main term exam for those who still have to do it. Yeah. Yeah.
So according to your answer, who I like how good?
Good question. I make the questions. I make the questions. So let's say
You
I
definitely
good or
think
bad?
that Russians are bad.
What?
You definitely think that Russians are bad.
Yeah. influence of culture, and I mean, I think like Vietnamese, I think are good. They're always smiling and good and kind. It depends. I think it's really very much the concept. It depends very much on society and on the family you come from and society. So it's very much about conditions. It's not biological, but it's mostly about conditions. I think so.
So you think Vietnamese are good and Russian are bad?
So you think agreeing with everything without questioning it is a good thing or a bad thing?
What's that?
You said like Vietnamese are good because they're always smiling and agreeing. So you think agreeing on everything without questioning it is a good thing or a bad thing?
They agree with
So
everything.
because it's kind of like a dictatorship ideas. The people are good because they agree with you and they are like, I don't know, submissive.
I traveled a lot in the world, and I had this idea that there is an influence that this this holism, let's say, that comes from a religion and many things, make that if you travel Eastern Asia, you find that people have smaller ego and are more kind. Makes sense or not?
Yes.
In general.
Because we are just shy,
Yeah, I say shy, but I mean, my view is.
Dude, you're not shy. Please.
Yeah, come on back, you're not shy.
I'm the new man. I'm like the body that the communists want to make.
Since we are born, we are raised like, for example, with Italians, they criticize public and they speak in public, but with us, we be kind outside, but we criticize in private.
Yeah, we love to criticize in private, like just among ourselves.
Yeah.
But Italians are better with
Better with what?
Italians are good or bad.
Italians are good.
Depends.
Good points.
Like you just say Chinese are good, Russians bad, but like Italians are good.
I mean, already you have a big difference between northern people and southern people. Like in Milan, they don't even be considered human beings. Italians, I mean, we have a sense of community, let's say. We have a sense of, but generalization, as we say, this is race, this is considered racism right now because you cannot make a generalization anymore. But I still think it makes sense. Yeah.
Like basically between Italians, we're racist. Like,
Yeah.
you're from north and you're richer, like,
Yeah.
and the south, you just on the middle age, we don't like them, they only have good riches and that's it. But when someone insults us, like another country, we're the most patriotic country. Like,
Yeah.
But it's the same with all
they'll
the
be-
Yeah, it's same with all nations.
we
Conflicts
insult
inside.
ourselves,
Yeah.
and we like demoralize ourselves too. And that is, to be a good country, you should avoid it. And then,
Yeah. You
Uh,
should avoid.
I think that's important. Don't criticize each other in front of foreigners.
exactly.
It's-
But people, they do that, and you saw one.
Yeah.
You were together.
But what's the difference between Italians and Philippines?
There's like a huge difference. Like right now, the situation there is bad because the ex-president is being accused of
I mean, in sense of
International
personality,
rights.
how are they, the
No,
people are kind, bad, more good,
obviously
bad, what do you
Philippines
say?
are nicer.
Philippines are nicer.
Yeah. But
Why?
Italian,
Why Philippines are nicer?
because we're more polite to people.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know, but like as a guy who lives in Southeast Asia, like the Philippines is like the Latin America for us. Like you guys are always up to our faces. You guys is just not the same.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
Yeah.
So you are not shy right now.
No, the Philippines, like to us, like the Philippines are like this Latin America country who just happen to be in Southeast Asia.
No, I disagree.
Latin America.
Why South America?
Because the Philippines, they have like Spanish names. They like always like
Of course, we recognize from Spanish.
yeah.
As you recognize yourself as part of French.
Yeah.
So.
Because they're like they have like this culture that is
How many midterm exams do we still have? Holy, 3, just 3.